Hi everybody, Kathy from Mystic Shield Tarot here with another reading for you. This is a reading about how to navigate the upcoming month. I am reading this in November 2023, but it is going to be an evergreen reading. So if you feel drawn to this reading and want to watch it, then now's the time, all right? So again, we're looking at how to navigate the month ahead, and we have 3 different piles here. Feel free to pick whichever one you're drawn to. You can, run your hand or finger over the screen and see if there's a particular pile that speaks to you physically. One thing that I like to do sometimes too is just close my eyes and think of a number between 1 and 3, or you can always choose the stone that appeals to you the most. So here today we have this amethyst, we have red jasper, and we have hematite. And there's such a lovely little color combination today. I was really drawn to all 3 of these. So I hope one of them appeals to you. And if more than one does, feel free, obviously, to watch more than one pile. Sometimes I find when I'm doing a pick a pile, I definitely have 2, and it works, like I end up really being happy that I watched both of them. So of course it's always up to you, but just see what you feel drawn to, and then we'll get started. Hi, pile 1, you chose this lovely amethyst and the first card. So let's see what we have for your cards today. And again, we are looking at navigating the month ahead. As we do this reading, I have, just initially with the cards that I've been seeing lately when it has to do with this new month. Sorry, one of my decks, I keep in this gigantic silk scarf, and it's funny to take it out. Anyway, so like a lot of, it just feels very fresh November to me so far. So I'm feeling very interested to see what cards come up for us, given the kind of fresh energy that I feel coming in to us right now, or to me. So let's see what we have here. These guys, okay. And put that one there. All right. And then I'm going to use the Golden Girls Tarot was kind of calling out to me just now. So we're going to use that as well. Oh, thank you. Oh, good. A couple here. Actually, it looks so pretty, all these colors together. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so let's see what other cards we have coming up. I think we have space for 2 more. I'm going to try to make it for 4. I just felt like 4 was the number. All right, so here are the cards. I kind of organized everything and helped it to all fit. Let's see what we have coming up for this month and the best way to navigate it. So we have the gem for your archetype card. Such a beautiful card. I love how she uses the contrast between black and white and color a lot in her cards. I just think it's beautiful. We have the 7th chakra with spirituality and connectivity. We have the pericardium meridian with protection and self-love. We have the 10 of Pentacles, gorgeous card there. We have the 9 of Swords. Interesting contrast between these 2. We have a little story developing here, I think. Then we have the Hanged Man, which also goes along very nicely with this theme of the gem. We'll talk about it, don't worry. Then we have the Death card. And we have the King of Cups. And then from the Osho, we have Guidance with the 3 of Rainbows. So interesting to see the colors kind of line up there. Innocence, which is a major arcana card. Trust, which is the Page of water, and then the creator, which is the king of fire. Okay, so let's see what is happening here. So very strong theme, just even with this little like row here, where, you know, there is some, so the idea of the gem, which I think is like sometimes different cards speak to me as like the center of the reading. And for me, this really feels like it given the other cards that have come up. And the gem card is all about, you know, like the idea of the diamond in the rough. So it's the diamond in the rough. It is this idea of, you know, something very special, beautiful, and rare being found amidst a lot of pressure, chaos, and kind of unhappiness. So there's this idea of maybe a lot of suffering. In the middle of that suffering is something quite valuable. And when the Nine of Swords and the Ten of Pentacles came out, I really kind of had that kind of feeling where the Nine of Swords is a lot of worry, a lot of stress and suffering, some insomnia, not being able to sleep at night. But with the Ten of Pentacles kind of at the heart of it. So this feeling of like completion or satisfaction, some kind of, you know, some kind of feeling of wholeness amidst all of this. So it's an interesting juxtaposition. And the narrative that I would move towards in this case is the idea of that you're kind of struggling right now in order to find this place within yourself. Let's see if that bears out, though, as we continue the reading. So with the Hanged Man, again, we have this, the Hanged Man to me is like the essence of that pressure and that time that it takes for a diamond to be born out of, you know, the coal and the darkness. So to me, the Hanged Man is kind of really, you know, telling this story of having to wait and sit and kind of being frustrated, feeling impatient, feeling like when is anything going to change? When is this going to happen? And I feel like you might even, for some of you, feel like you know that there is something at the end of this that's positive and good, but you're getting like frustrated or unsure maybe if it's worth it still. And I think that cards are telling us that yes, it is. But we will, you know, again, make sure. I always like to look at my cards and compare and say, yes, this is true based on everything else that I'm seeing. So then we come down to the Death card here, which is actually the card right after the Hanged Man. So this is 12 and this is 13. So we're seeing a kind of progression here. And I'm wondering if there is some kind of stalemate happening with an inability to let something go. And that's part of the I don't want to say trap, but this kind of stasis, yes, stasis that you're in is because the thing that you're worried about or the thing that's keeping you up at night is something quite important. And I think in some ways you might be trying to not admit that or not really let it come to the surface for you, that when you suffer, you do so alone and in private. But there is this kind of aspect of you know, it's not, it's not something to be minimized, I would say, that there is this feeling, I don't know, where it's the Nine of Swords is such an interesting card, especially to me lately, because it does feel like this private kind of suffering, this suffering that happens, you know, at night when everyone else is asleep and you can finally deal with something. You know, if for any of you that are moms out there, I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about, where it's like, this is your time. And right now something's happened that makes it your time where, you're processing things or you're experiencing something very unpleasant at night. And even if, you know, that isn't the case, there is this kind of feeling like you can't be too open about it, or there's some kind of shame or some element of privacy in all of this that is difficult, because not because you need to be open and telling everybody about the problem, but I think there's this like acceptance that needs to take place for you. And that's the challenge, is that some part of you isn't ready to let this go. And so you're stuck in this kind of cycle right here. And I do feel with the King of Cups, there's also this pull towards being optimistic. Again, I'm really getting a vibe of like not taking things too seriously here, even though the King of Cups is like all about emotions and things like that. Sometimes the King of Cups is a little aloof, a little bit not really present with the people. You know, he's on a throne boat on the water, you know, and so there's this feeling of not taking it seriously. And you know, the tarot here today is taking it very seriously. And I think part of that is it's saying, you know, that there is something real that happened here, or that is happening here. Whether it's, you know, I don't think this is new. Like, I typically, when I read the cards, I'm not looking for like what's going to happen next month. I'm looking for how can we navigate it best. And I don't see this as like something that is a new thing that's going to be happening and you're going to have to deal with it. Like, this is something you already know about, have already been going through, and have not been able to completely process or allow to exist within you. There is, there's a real freedom in the Death card. And I think that this, if you look in the background, and I just saw this for the first time, which always to me signifies, you know, an important part of the reading, that in the foreground, there's this idea of death and, you know, this idea of the Grim Reaper, played by Dorothy in this case. And, you know, just like the starkness of it. But in the background, to have this horse, it's like, yes, there is this big thing to confront, but there's also this wild freedom in the background that's happening. I feel like that could speak to our friend the gem here, that in accepting this and processing this, there's this other aspect that's really free and quite lovely and amazing in this experience of having lost something or having changed gears. And so by not allowing yourself to take this seriously, or to not allowing yourself to like be truly upset and to just try to manage it in chunks, when it's allowable to you, you're actually missing out on an even possibly more serious thing, I'll be honest, which is your freedom or your sense of worth. You know, this Ten of Pentacles, like, so there is this loss or this shift, but that honestly, that's already happened, you know, that, and it's more just letting it go. The thing that hasn't happened yet is you finding this, or becoming this wild horse to ride on, you know. And it's so like, there's this, you're missing an opportunity here. And it is not, I don't think based on this, you necessarily realize what the opportunity is. I think you have this very stark idea of what has happened, or what it is that you need to deal with, and in that assumption, or in the bald decision you've made about what this is, you've missed out on a very important part of yourself and your own evolution that needs to happen. So working on this and taking this seriously, taking your feelings seriously, your emotional needs more seriously. Not, you know, I feel like this could be someone you internalize, who's undermined you a little bit emotionally in your life, and not allowing them that place. This is a very easily moved individual, you know, like, so I get the feeling like this is like an internalized behavior that you've learned from someone else. And the thing about this person is that, yes, he is powerful. He is a king, but he's also not, he's not your king. Like, you don't have to obey him. He's not real royalty. Yeah, and he has very little power over your life anymore. And the thing that I just imagine as I look at this card is you just walking into the water, which means getting a little emotional, because water tends to symbolize emotions as well as the unconscious. So it may involve doing some unconscious work, some journaling, meditating, praying kind of things. But getting in there, and I feel like it's just up to the knees. It's manageable. It might seem like it's really deep. Once again, we have that idea of the idea that the death card is insurmountable, and that's why we're avoiding it. And I have the same feeling about this water, but it isn't that deep. And you just push this person and they're out of this card, and the card is just some water with some nice palm trees in it. And that's manageable. You know what I mean? And so there is this kind of real strong visual happening for me in this particular reading about just pushing this person out of the scene. And it almost reminds me now of the trust card, where there is this blank space where this person in the throne used to be, where it's like you now can manage to navigate this on your own without this person kind of telling you how to behave. And with the Hanged Man, these Golden Girl cards are kind of funny, but I take it all at face value. And here we have, this the toupee kind of falling off the head. I think this is Stan. It doesn't matter. But with the toupee coming off, there's this sense of embarrassment to me, or this idea of being caught, being vulnerable. And so, again, we come back to that idea of not having your feelings be acceptable, or feeling ashamed of not having gotten over this, or being upset by it in the first place, and that's such a small part. Like, if you look at this card, like the toupee kind of hanging off this person's head, or the comb over, whatever it is just, it's like a totally small part of what's happening with this person. In the Hanged Man card, this person is being transformed. They are in like a yogic position. They're learning they're growing, but in this very kind of subtle way, but that's extremely significant in the end. And so the toupee falling off is the least of it, and it's in putting that as an important thing is very unnecessary. And so I want to let you know that. So we have this kind of trust where it's like you can be without these rules that you've been given and see what happens. Trust that you have the ability to navigate this in quite a beautiful way. To me, the energy of this is very similar to our wild horse here, where it's like the wind. The wind blowing through your hair in both of these, and the idea of moving very quickly, but with grace and with just a total joy for freedom, So I'm going to sneeze. Nope, I'm not. Oh, that was weird. Okay. That doesn't often happen to me. So there's this feeling of this letting go being a very beautiful experience, and something that teaches you more about yourself. Now, continuing with this kind of theme, we go right into the guidance card, where it's all wind and flying and movement, and it's talk about grace. That is a beautiful, beautiful card. So to me, the guidance card is kind of talking about this subconscious work that I was mentioning in the King of Cups, where it's, looking for guidance from the universe or God or your higher self or whatever it is that, you look to for guidance. And if you don't do that, I highly recommend kind of finding a way to do that, because I think your higher self is all about this process, and that is very likely the gem that you're trying to find in this whole mess is, the part of you that has something to say, that has wisdom to bring into this situation, and I really think, honestly, based on this what's happening in this reading, your first step is this kind of subconscious work, this work of moving this person out of the way so that you can do the work you need to do. This person they don't get to say what you do anymore, and figuring out where it is that they've gotten stuck inside of you, where their thought patterns, where their rules have become part of your rules, and taking that out is really important. And it's not that difficult, but it does take work, and it takes going probably into a place that you're a little afraid of going, because it is this kind of subconscious, deeper work. But again, meditation, prayer, journaling, there's so many things, even being out in nature and just listening for any guidance or words, there's like so much possibility to get in touch with this side of yourself I also feel that it is clearly trying to get in touch with you at the same time. So going in that direction is huge. It's huge because it is this thing that is at the center of all of this suffering and this tough time. It's the part of you that is trying to get retrieved, and that I believe you probably want to retrieve, but have had your eyes closed to, because of being afraid, I think, honestly. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's very normal. In fact, this person, or, the principles of this individual is very fear-based. And so like not wanting to feel emotions and not wanting to allow yourself to get emotional, that is such a fear response. It's not stupid to get emotional. I think it's very valuable. And we have been told, I think many of us, that it is dumb don't be too emotional. We often get kneecapped by people telling us we're too emotional. And this is not the case at all. In fact, getting emotional is the pathway to freedom. It just is. That's how serious it is. Being emotional, having emotions, those are signs, and that is guidance. Your emotions guide you if you let them, if you listen to them, and they can guide you to very important places. So fear is very real, and it's also something that we can move past. And in this case, it is fear of emotion. And kind of speaking in that same area, we have the Innocence card, which is our other major arcana card with the Hanged Man and Death. And I think here is this kind of idea of not assuming what this process looks like, not assuming what it means to have emotions or to be upset or to let this go, like letting go of those assumptions, coming at it from a fresher, younger, more delighted perspective. Even though this doesn't seem like delightful work, there's always something to learn in all of this. And oftentimes the dark things also contain an amazing amount of light. And I think the Innocence card is really calling to us with this praying mantis, also speaking about prayer again, right? In prayer, you don't have to believe in God to pray. You can just pray to the universe, the powers that be, pray to your higher self. Like, it's really whatever you want. But the Innocence card also speaks to curiosity. And I think that can be a superpower when it comes to dealing with our emotions and dealing with transitioning out of a cycle like this, is be curious about this process. You already know so much about this, but there's something you're missing. And this curiosity can bring you to see that. And I do think it's probably this freedom and this wild horse that is being missed for you. With the Creator, it speaks to this kind of the solar plexus area. It's an interesting card because it is very different in color. The palette value, it's closer to the Ten of Pentacles here, and then the pericardium meridian to me. And what is it telling us? So the Pentacles, the Pentacles are they're earth suit, so there's an earthiness to it in the red and the yellow. and the orange are also like very earthy colors. That has to do with the first, second, and third chakras. So there's this idea of letting yourself be rooted. There's an idea of letting yourself get emotional again with that second chakra, letting those emotions flow. And I think the to me today, what I'm feeling is that those two things, letting yourself feel safe, giving yourself the support you need physically, like making your home nice or eating well, little simple things like that actually have a huge impact on our lives, as well as letting yourself get emotional, builds you up to that place in the third chakra where you can kind of feel more confident and love yourself more. And that brings us to protection and self-love. And I think that this is an area possibly that you have had a lot of trouble with, based on this reading, that you're being invited, I think, to develop this part of you, this, so that you feel not only protected with that root chakra, but also the self-love, to not put other people before you, to not just shrink down. Because when we deny our emotions and we feel shame about them, basically what we're doing is we're saying other people are more important than us, and this person, or, this, what I think this is a person, but however you inherited these ideas of emotions not being acceptable, the process of denying your emotions or not allowing yourself to grieve is actually putting other people before you, because you're assuming what you look like, what you seem like, and who cares about those things. You might, but you don't need to. Again, you can just push this guy right out of the card. And so here we're talking about building up that strength, building up that self-love, so that you can say, no, I'm worth being upset today. I'm worth crying in the daylight, being pissed off, feeling how I feel. I'm worth it. And that's, so important. And I think that these two cards are really speaking to that, to bringing up, raising your level of self-love through self-care, and the little simple things we do every day that make us feel loved, like making our bed and things like that. If you don't do that, it's a great place to start, and it's a big deal. And then moving into letting yourself have those emotions, and just saying, no, I get to be upset. And that brings you right into this place of empowerment and confidence that is so important. These other cards are very much in your upper chakras, and there is a place to go with that, and it's not a bad thing, but I think that it's speaking that your lower chakras are very blocked here, and that you're struggling in that area especially. And so with the seventh chakra, we just see again, and I know I pointed to it earlier, but this idea of spirituality and connectivity, reaching out beyond yourself to guidance that is out there. And in this, we kind of even have that idea of the white horse. We have, this white deer or stag kind of here, and really experiencing that freedom, and that, look at this, growth is unreal. And that also reflects to me the 10 of Pentacles. So there's so much potential here, and it's coming from the bottom up and then from the top down. So by that, I mean, it's coming from working on the root chakra, the emotions, and then also working on getting the guidance and praying and spending time being spiritual. And in doing those things, you kind of, I don't know, upgrade is the right word, but you kind of find, if the gem is in the middle, you're digging from both sides to get there. I think that's what we're looking at here. I just want to see if there's anything else standing out. The amethyst is so pretty next to this card. This real gentleness, and the gentleness of the colors that speak to gentleness and being gentle with yourself. I think you really deserve it. With these swords over your head, there's such a threat of violence, even if it's only emotional or fear-based. And you deserve gentleness. You deserve to come out of all of this. I think that's it for what I'm seeing. Um, yeah, I think that's it. I don't have any further questions really. Usually I do, but this was a very complete reading. Um, yeah, it is. So I hope this was helpful to you. I feel like this month, there's this real great potential for you are growing also, like, just so you know, like that's very clear with the hanged man, all this stuff. There is growth happening in your life already. And I think that the point for this month coming up is to kind of usher that along by allowing yourself to process things more fully and with less fear, and I think that's going to be really, really helpful for you. Um, I'm just going to ask one more question actually, because I'd really love to ask questions. I like the follow-ups, but I'm curious, like what area is the best area to start with? I talked about making beds, but for anybody, what is the best area? Moon. Don't make assumptions. I think that's the place to start. And we have the purple, which speaks to that top chakra. So being open, don't limit yourself, let yourself have the feelings that you have. Be curious. Don't make assumptions about what this is about. And it's so funny because it's the same character here, and we have that sickle with the crescent shape, and she's sitting in it. And it almost says to me, like, don't make assumptions even about what this card means. Even if you know clearly what the loss was, what the big change was, there's more to be discovered here. And I think being open and just admitting that you don't know, or accepting that you don't know, and that there's a great deal of potential, I think is your first step. So openness, stop assuming, start letting things flow more. That's it, flow, right? With the wind, that's exactly it. With the wind going against the horse's mane, the trust card, all of these things, it speaks to creating flow. And when we look at the moon, we think about tides, we think about the ocean and the flow of the water. And there is a big unconscious element to that, and I think that that's where you're being called to also, in this time at night, when if you really are if you're having insomnia, not just having insomnia is not a just, it's a crappy situation. But when you do have the insomnia, if you have it and you're worried, to instead of making that time a time of kind of struggle and suffering and trying to fall back to sleep and worrying and tossing and turning, make that a time in which to do this more spiritual work of moving the King of Cups and allowing yourself to the freedom to feel and the freedom to not know what's going to happen or what this all means. Yeah. It's a really pretty card. And that is your reading for October, or for whenever you watch this video. I hope it was helpful. There is so much promise here, and I really feel like you're already on the path is already laid out for you, and you've kind of been going down it, but with your eyes closed a little bit, and you're being invited this month to open your eyes and to really be here for this experience, because there's a lot to gain, and you've already kind of done, believe it or not, the hardest part. Kind of, depending on what you consider, like, because for some people, just having the emotions is the hardest part, and for some people, it's going to be the actual experience of the loss. So it depends on you. But in my opinion, you've already gone through the hardest part. All right, so that's your reading for this month. I do hope it was helpful. If you enjoyed the video, please do consider liking it. It's very nice for me, and it actually helps me get found. If you aren't already subscribed, please consider subscribing. Of course, I have tons of tarot stuff to share, and look forward to sharing more with you. All right, and more importantly than all of that, have a wonderful day, have a wonderful month, and thank you so much for watching. Bye. Hi, Pile 2. You chose the second card in this beautiful red Jasper. I love the color of this stone so much. So let's see what your reading has for you today. Again, we are looking at what are the best ways to move forward with this month, this new month. How do we bring in fresh energy? Which incidentally, I am feeling November has a really fresh feeling to it. So it's quite nice. So let's see how that shows up, if it shows up in your reading. And 3 of those came out, so that's kind of fun. So let's see what is going on for you, what advice the tarot has. I was saying to pile 1 that I typically, these kind of like month ahead readings are more about how best to navigate it than they are about what's going to happen. I'm not really as into fortune telling. I don't think it's helpful as I am into just kind of getting insight into life and what's happening and how we can kind of navigate it. So that's really the focus here as we go through the cards. All right, and then let's grab, here they are, our last deck. So I cleanse the cards in between, and now we are ready to go. And thank you for these. All right, so let's see what we have for you for this upcoming month, the best way to navigate it, things to keep in mind, just stuff like that. All right, so let's see. Still a little wonky. Let me just do this. Sometimes you just need to turn the camera. I think that's a lesson. Change the big picture. All right, we have the Judge starting off here. Very interesting. And I don't know if you can see, but this almost looks like a wolf's eye. And then we have a skull here. Very interesting. And black and white thinking, right? And then we have the kidney meridian with ancestry and willpower. Something about willpower. We have the 12th chakra with ethereal and unique to you. Seems important. And then we have the bladder meridian with energy storage and crisis management. How interesting. Now for these cards, we have the Hanged Man. That was also in the first reading, if any of you were drawn to that. The Page of Wands. The 9 of Cups. One of my favorite cards in this deck. So inviting. The 9 of Swords. Also in the first reading. The 10 of Pentacles. Also in the first reading. Now, I shuffle the deck very thoroughly. I clean them in between. So if the cards show up again, it's meant to be. So again, if you were drawn to the first deck, maybe it's for you as well. And then we have the Knight of Cups here. And then for our Osho Zen deck, we have Guidance, which was also in the first reading. This just makes me laugh when this happens. I find it so interesting. And then the Lovers. All right, so let's have a look and see what is going on. These cards are bothering me because they're like right on the edge. There's like a little crack in the table and they're right on the edge of it. It's very annoying to me. That's okay. All right, so let's see what we have here. This black and white kind of thinking. But it's more than that, it's not just black and white thinking. There's something happening. You have some strong feelings about something and you are reacting instead of letting those feelings guide you. What I see is, it's like how they say, anger is a sign that someone's crossed your boundaries or you need to stand up for yourself, or you need better boundaries and things like that. So we can get angry and really mad and kind of fume about things and, do the 9 of Swords where we're super upset and everything else. Or we can take action, right? And I think what's happening is inside of you, like in the 12th chakra here, ethereal and unique to you, you have a strong inner voice. You have a strong idea of how things ought to be or how things are best done. And you you haven't let it come out yet. And so it's like a puppet, this inner voice. It kind of controls you because it makes you have a lot of big, strong emotions. I feel like there is this, you hold back with the ancestry and willpower. There's this feeling of not like, don't get angry, don't behave a certain way, you don't want to upset people or blah, blah, blah. And that, though, keeps us under control, but really what it does is it just makes you crazy when no one's looking, or privately you're very unhappy about it. But you put this so far under wraps, but what you don't realize is there's something really valuable inside of this, that this voice, this part of you has great value, and that it has information for you. It has guidance. It has real guidance. So if you're feeling stuck like the hanged man here, and you're feeling like, why am I not moving ahead? Why am I in this pattern of being so angry or having these problems? In the tarot today, it's saying that the reason is because you're not really letting this part of you, you're not listening to it. It's controlling you in this unconscious way. But if you listen to it, it has a different, it changes the relationship. It changes the dynamic of relationship to this thing. So let's see. In this crisis management, to me, in the little, like the wolf's eye here, but it reminds me of these little planets or stars around this person. Like, it's like this, that things feel like a crisis an awful lot for you, maybe, or they might in the coming month feel that way. And what is actually happening is these moments are bringing your judge out, and you're trying to suppress it. And so it feels so much like a crisis, when really you're getting information from your higher self, from the parts of you that are more intuitive, I think, more personal, and you're holding them back. And so it brings it to this crisis that doesn't necessarily have to be the case. And with the Ten of Pentacles, like, I really see this, even the wolf's eye being here, and it is saying that, like, these little crises are actually opportunities to listen to yourself, to take the guidance, to move in a different direction. It's interesting, because I think that the fact that this here is a wolf's eye, it's like there's a lot of there's a wilder part of yourself that you're possibly afraid of. This is the angry part, the part that's very judgmental or very opinionated, that you keep pushing down. But the thing is, it has like importance to you, and it wants what's best for you. And it's not the getting angry, yelling at everyone, but it is the listening to yourself and figuring out what is true for you. It's this one that says how to build a good life, and a life that feeds you, that not only supports you physically, but nourishes you and satisfies you in this emotional level. I'm just going to have some tea here. So there's this invitation this month to, instead of banishing this part of yourself or wishing that it wasn't there, which is like the skull to me, listening to it, not suppressing it, but listening to it as if it were someone who has great wisdom and advice for you, is going to serve you so much better. And it's going to kind of break you out of this pattern that it looks like you're stuck in. Now, I'm looking now at the Nine of Cups and the Page of Wands here, and the Knight of Cups. And we have the two nines. It's like almost like on the cusp of something, and I think that speaks to this part of you that wants to come out so much. And the Nine of Cups, I feel like it has to do with this idea of the good things that can come about. Yeah. So to me though, it's actually speaks to this kind of suppression of this judge part of yourself, because I think there is this idea of wanting to seem like everything is perfect, wanting to appear a certain way to people, and that you feel like you have to control this part. And that to me is the Page of Wands. With the wand here, it's like just holding this person back all the time because you want to be happy, you want to be liked, you want to be attractive to the people around you, and you're worried that if you're not, that it's going to make you unacceptable, which is not the case. And I think that these two are in direct opposition to each other, that during the day you probably strive to seem delightful and kind and all this other stuff, but when you're alone, it's a different story. You're miserable, you're angry, you have a lot of emotions that come up, and it's this kind of struggle between these two parts of you that's really coming to the fore here. And how do we, well, let's look at okay, so my question that I was going to ask is, how do we, like, let this part of you out, like more information on that. But then the Lovers also, I'm very curious about what the Lovers mean, and the Knight of Cups as well. I could guess, but I actually think pulling more cards would be a better decision. I'm feeling like the Osho deck is the way to go for this particular reading. So what I want to know is, tell me about the Lovers and the Knight of Cups here. What is that? What is the significance? What are we trying to say with those cards? Okay. And I feel like it's this one. Okay, let's see what we have here. We have a bunch of cards. Innocence. Clinging to the past. Okay. The Rebel. I'm actually going to pull this over here. And let's see what else there is. There is Existence. Okay, so what, let's see. So Innocence speaks to being open, to experiences, being willing to listen, being curious, which is so important. The Existence card is bringing in the Lovers for me visually with the stars. There's this need to accept this side of yourself and not view it as bad. With the Rebel as well, I get this real sense that that you just don't feel like this part of you is acceptable for some reason, possibly that it's too moody. I can see it, when you're growing up, like getting in trouble for being rebellious or, talking back. And so you push it down and push it down. And so what the cards are saying is that, no, this is a part of you. It doesn't get pushed down. It doesn't need to get pushed down anymore. You don't need to push it down. And that so the Rebel archetype is very important, and especially when it comes to the Judge, because the Rebel challenges social norms. It challenges things that are generally accepted, and it brings about something new. The Rebel is a very important part of our society, our culture, our lives, and it's this idea with the Knight of Cups. It's kind of like this idea of not, like the Knight of Cups is kind of heading away from all of this. Everything else is like looking forward for the most part, except for this bladder meridian. So there is this feeling of departing from the norm here, of saying, no, I'm going to take what I believe, what I feel is right, and go with it, and that can seem very rebellious, especially, if you're trying so hard to appear a certain way to other people. But there is this value to this part of you. And I think that that's the Lovers card is saying you're not getting rid of it, and that the best move you can make is to accept this part of you and let it exist, right? Clinging to the past to me kind of speaks to this idea of maybe, in the past there was a time time when it wasn't acceptable for you to have this great anger or to talk back or to have strong opinions, and that those constructs don't exist for you anymore. You don't have to accept them the way that you did back then. And so freeing yourself from that, I think, is hugely important. And with the innocence card, it's also kind of speaking to the idea that, there is, I don't know, there's some kind of spirit behind the judge card that is very pure. Yeah, that's what it is. That it isn't, there's a part of you that is not tainted by all of this. And that is part of what this inner voice for you is. It's actually doesn't accept, that things can't change, or that, you don't deserve better, or whatever it is that you've been told that, keeps you in line. This hasn't given up on that belief that it is right, that there is possibility, that there is hope for things to change, or that you can make that happen. And I think you're being invited really to listen to that now, instead of pushing it back and doing what you were taught to do or what you used to do with this information. And I think one of the things that you can do is to look at this part of yourself. I asked, like, what's the first step, or how do we practically work with this and let this out? And I think that it's largely exploring the archetype of the rebel and exploring the value that it has, and not just the bad parts of it, or the parts that threaten this idea of perfection that you want so badly to portray, but also, the parts of it that are beneficial. Why is it important? How do we see the rebel showing up every day in the lives outside of us? Who do we know that is like this, that we really appreciate and looked up to? You know what I mean? Like, those are really important questions, because I think part of the challenge is learning to value this part of yourself instead of feel threatened by it or feel like it's bad. The other thing that's very interesting to me is, if you look at these cards here, you can see it's very sneakily kind of hidden, this eagle, kind of right next to the rebel here, but it's like speaking to it or talking to it. And then we have the guidance card that has the same kind of feeling to it. And for me, seeing that, I feel like what this card is saying is that the thing is, your inner voice you might think of as the rebel, but you actually are the rebel, and you have an inner voice that helps you with that. So re-examining how you identify yourself, like how you feel about yourself, and being open to the idea that you're actually a very unique person. You think differently than other people, and that's not a bad thing. That this is a part of yourself you've been denying, and you have strong guidance that helps you with that. But in essence, you are not like everyone else, and that is a powerful, really good thing, with the shackles here coming off, and just stop letting yourself be suppressed. Because while we've been talking about you suppressing a part of yourself, and while that is true, this also is you, and I think that calls to us, this reading calls us to see the bigger picture here, which is that your essence, your nature is to be rebellious, and that this can have great power. And so it takes it from these little crises that make you worry, how am I going to navigate this? What can I do? Why am I so angry? I shouldn't be this angry, to stepping into this bigger embodiment of this feeling of anger, and this isn't the way it should be, and I want to follow my own drum. I want to do my own thing. I'm going to trust my inner guidance, what I'm saying, and I'm going to let it guide me. And so it's really, it's much bigger than these little things. And that could be part of the reason you suppress it, because you might know that on some level. And there's definitely an invitation, especially this month, to move into this area, to at least, accept this voice and start listening to it. I think that's the more mundane thing. I think this is the bigger picture, and you don't even need to worry about that right now. I think it's just letting you know, like, imagine viewing yourself in a different light. Imagine that you aren't this perfect little 9 of cups person with their little outfit and their nice dessert and everything. Imagine you are, this really powerful, strong person who has strong opinions that are important in guiding you and maybe other people in how to live, but definitely you. It's not like you don't have to take the world by storm. You don't have to get out there and fight with people on social media or things like that, but it is kind of accepting this part of your nature that isn't going to be, that isn't this, that's much bigger and more powerful than that. You've been really playing small, and there's a call to play big here. And so the way to kind of start the ball rolling, though, it is kind of allowing that shift in identity if you're up for it. But even if it isn't, considering the benefits of this voice, considering that it is there to guide you and not trip you up or make you just crazy and angry all the time, irritable, and to accept its existence, that it is part of you. It isn't something you're going to be able to get rid of. You can't take this person away. It's part of you. It's part of you. And it's very much, this unique to you. And that's where the rebel comes in, because you have this unique view of things, this unique idea of what's right and wrong, probably, and listening to that, even if it doesn't change your behavior, though I think it probably will, but it changes your approach to things as far as how you view this part of yourself is huge. Allowing it to exist is kind of revolutionary, which is very fitting for a rebel. So this month seems like you have since this is coming up for this month's reading, I feel like you have a really good opportunity here to kind of turn some things around as far as what's been upsetting you, and to listen to that and to let it guide you and impact you in a way that is intentional, that you can intentionally work with it instead of it just kind of controlling you emotionally behind the scenes. It's a big shift, and it can start small, and it's really, it's pretty cool. I love the rebel archetype. I think it's super important. I think it's really amazing. I think that without it, we would all be life wouldn't be as interesting or colorful. And of course we need those things, and so to me, this is kind of exciting. It's an exciting idea that there's a part of you that's so ready to kind of break free and change things, in a really true to you way, which is awesome. All right, so that's your reading for this month. I hope it was helpful. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please consider liking this, because it's very helpful for me to get discovered, and it gives me a little boost. And also, if you don't already subscribe, please consider doing so. If you like tarot and things like this, there will be plenty more coming around the bend. So I'd love to have you with me on that journey. And more important than all of that, have a wonderful month, have a wonderful day, and thanks again so much for watching. Bye. Hi, Pile 3. Kathy here from the future. I wanted to just give you a quick heads up that this reading was a little tricky, and I think it ended up being really good, but it does start off a little rocky. So if you just bear with me as I, figure out what the cards are saying, I think you'll end up happy with the reading. Thanks. Hi, Pile 3. You chose the third card and this gorgeous Hematite. I just love how opaque it is. I know that might sound funny, but I just think it's just so beautiful. It feels very powerful as a stone. So let's see what cards you get for today. Again, this is a reading about how best to navigate the month ahead. Interestingly, this card was turn the wrong side. I guess I'll let it join us then. Okay, and let's see what else comes out for you here. Thank you. And I feel like, is there another one? I think this one. I think that's it. Okay. So how to best navigate the month ahead. As I said to, the previous cards, this isn't so much about like what's going to happen next month. Like it's not for me about that, the tarot. It's more about, guidance and insight. So this is more about, the best use of energy or the best way to navigate the month ahead. So that's what we're going to be looking at. I feel like one more of these, but just one. And I feel like it's that one. All right. And then let's see what we have for this deck. 1, 2, and one more right there. Thank you. All right. So let's see what your cards are for this reading. Oh, we have the bridge for your archetype card. Very pretty card. And we already know we have the liver meridian with planning and action. I just love the colors that are happening so far. Then we have the 9th auric field with codes of destiny and life design. Wow. This is a much more, it's much more like hematite. This reading is very action-oriented, opaque. And then we have the kidney meridian with ancestry and willpower. All right. And then here we have the 6 of Pentacles. The Empress, lovely. The World, holy moly. And we have the Page of Cups. We have the King of Swords. For these cards, we have the Source. We have Postponement. Interesting. And finally, we have Aloneness, which is the same as the Hermit. And Postponement is the 4 of Clouds, which would also be the 4 of Swords. And the Source is the Ace of Fire or Wands. All right, let's see what's going on here. I have to be honest, I feel like I need to make space for another card. I don't know why, but I'm going to listen to that and pull out one more. I think somebody's missing from our reading. I think it's this one, which is Participation, the 4 of Fire or Wands. And it's fitting, so that's good. Okay, let's just try to make this look a little nicer. It doesn't have to be perfect, but better. I'll settle for better. Okay. Let me just, here we go. I think that's better. We can actually, here we go. I like that. Okay, sorry. All right, so let's see what we have here. A lot of cards, but I really felt like that was needed. Let's see. So the bridge is about like making connections, either literally or kind of making connections between events happening. And we have this real like action-oriented kind of group of subtle body cards, planning and action, willpower, codes of destiny, and life design, which is interesting because then right out of that comes the 6 of Pentacles, which is such a light-looking card in juxtaposition to these. I think it's very interesting, but we also do have some powerful cards here too with the Empress in the World. And the 6 of Pentacles, I'm not saying it's not powerful. It just looks so light. It's like, do your Christmas shopping if you do that. But let's see. So with participation and postponement, which are both fours, I'm very interested because we have this idea of the bridge, and with participation, it seems almost like a bridge between people, like creating a team or something like that. And with postponement, it's almost like waiting for all the pieces to fall into place. And then with aloneness as well, there is this feeling of, again, like waiting, almost like you're organizing things with the Empress and all of this. There's a feeling of like organizing, creativity. It's coming to me, don't worry. I can feel it like rising up in my throat here. Sometimes when I am doing this kind of work, for some reason, readings, it'll just pour out of me. Like I just feel this energy kind of building up in my throat, and then all of a sudden it just blew up. And I feel like that's probably going to happen here. So I'm gonna babble until that happens, but I'm pretty sure it's coming. So there's something you're waiting to happen. There is, and I think maybe this month it. I don't want to say that because I'm not sure. Okay, there is this element of leadership happening in this reading, that you're like trying to put together a group or do something creative with other people, that you're like the leader of the group, though, that you're the person organizing it, and it's something that you care a lot about and that you've worked on kind of like very personally. It's a project or something like that, but it involves other people or participation in some way, and it's like ready. You know what I mean? Like I feel like you're ready. And you might have been ready for some time. It's like I feel like she's just about to stand up, and that this source feels like it's compelling her to stand up. I don't know if that makes sense, but I feel that very clearly. And the thing you're doing is something that is very true to yourself. There's no question about it. But there is this kind of stall happening, that the bridges that need to be built to connect you to this group of people or this thing happening, it hasn't happened yet. And why is that? It could be, it could be that there's some particular people kind of blocking the way or the energy, or they're not aware of what's happening. There is a lack of awareness in this card, particularly. And I'm going to pull some more cards because I just need more information here. Can you clarify a little bit more? Thank you. What the story is here for this month for us? I know something is being stalled, even though it feels like it's completely ready. Ten of Swords. Okay, this is good information. The Queen of Cups. Gotcha. Okay, let's do this. I think these go over here. Definitely something in the way, in the Hanged Man. A lot of blocked energy vibes kind of coming through for this month, even though there is this different feeling. It's not as heavy, but we are seeing that a lot. Um, Two more. This is so funny that I feel like the thing is this is a much more kind of practical reading, and it takes me time. Yeah, okay. So there are a lot of people involved here. We have the Queen of Cups, the Page of Cups, the King of Swords, the King of Wands. So different personalities, and that you're the Empress. So you are responsible for all of these kind of moving pieces. Lots of different personalities, and the bridges have to be built to these people. And I don't think they have been yet. And I think that in some ways there's this kind of frustration about that this card is a little lonely, and it's hard because I think you're ready. You're so ready for this. You're ready to stand up. You have a very clear picture of what it is you want. So it's very hard because you're kind of stuck and you're waiting, and you're so ready for this to begin. Like if you're looking for a job and you're ready for a new job, or if you're out there, putting yourself out there, you started a new class, or you're an artist and you're trying to get your work out there and meet the right clients. It's interesting because we do have this cast of characters that are there for you to connect to, but for some reason the connection hasn't happened. I'm just going to pop these down here. I want to get a clearer kind of insight into this. And I feel like this goes here. A lot of this is just like following your gut about things, but we have these like clear people. Gosh, and you're just so ready, and it's so frustrating. I can feel that, that there's this patience, and that you just feel like, what is it? You worry that it's never going to happen, that you've done everything you can. It's never going to happen. This to me is my cat's trying to get in here, so just ignore the noisiness. But, with this picture here and this picture here, it's like this is your kind of dream. This is where you want to go, but you're blocked from it. And here are all these thoughts and doubts, I think, that you have about this vision that you have for yourself. And in the idea, though, isn't that you're not ready. That's important for you to know. It's not that you're not ready. You absolutely clearly are ready, but it's that maybe the other people aren't ready yet, or the time needs to go so that you can hone your skill or something. What is this? And the Devil feels like there's this real impatience, this doubt. So, I mean, it's just funny because everything, like the World card, all I can see is like you're presenting this thing to people. You have something to share. You've done what you need to do with the presence. You want to be present with people. No pun intended there. But also you have prepared all this stuff, and it's lovely, and you've put thought into it. And with the Empress, like you have a vision of yourself, of what you want for all of this. You've done that work, and still this connection isn't happening with these people. And the Devil speaks to this kind of doubt, or this like something is in the way, and what is it, and what is it? It's really fascinating. I feel this all very keenly, and it doesn't really seem to, it's not yet telling us why or what you need to do. Clearly, you don't have to do any more work on this part of it. And I'm actually, oddly, I'm going to take away these cards and do more cards, because I feel like I get the picture of this, and even, it's interesting, we have 4 people here, and then we have the fours here, and it's 2 couples almost. they feel almost like gatekeepers, and very much not concerned with you, if that makes sense. Like, it's interesting because you're like above them, or you want to lead these people or draw their attention, or somehow like have them as students or clients or people that work for you or something. But it's like they don't even know you exist yet. So let's have a look at some more of this information. I'm going to choose which cards to keep here. You want to choose wisely. I do think that one stays. And I think this one can go, and I want this one to stay. Okay. All right. And I'm going to keep that one. My gut is saying to keep it. All right. So let's see. I want to know more about why is the bridge not being built? It could have to just do with a matter of time, but it may not. Another person, Knight of Pentacles. Okay. So there is one, I think that you're being invited to start. I'm going to say this, but don't freak out because I'll explain in a second, to start over from scratch. But what I mean by that isn't like to unwrap the gifts or to not be as ready as you are. It's about changing your approach to making the connections. So it's not that you're not ready. It's not that you haven't got all the stuff in order. It's that the way you're trying to build these bridges is not effective. And I think the people that, I think it's a matter of finding one person to help you to get the message out somehow, or like focusing instead of on multiple people, just like one target and working on that one target. And also like there's an element of not being afraid of failing or of giving up on certain areas. That, yes, okay, good. I'm starting to get it. This has been such an interesting reading. I hope I've driven you all nuts. But there is this, so now the intuition is coming online here a little bit more, and there's this feeling of like not being afraid to change the way you're doing things, and not being afraid to fail, and not feeling so desperate about this bridge, creating this bridge, not to force it. And that there is a way to do it, but it's maybe with someone else. That someone else can help you build the bridge or bring you to these other people. That somehow there is this other connection that is potentially what you need, that you are ready. It's a matter of really, so it's a matter of like examining, you're in these cards, there are so many different people that you're trying to reach, and there's just this general idea of like amassing people or having participation, like having a lot of likes on social media or whatever it is, you know what I mean? And like the thing is with each of like figuring out in these, if there is any that actually energizes you, yes. If any of these energize you, then yeah, go for it. But if you're doing this work and it feels heavy, it feels like you're getting nowhere, and you feel like you just have this weight every time you do this thing to try to get to them, I think it's time to get rid of that weight and to look for the ways that feel lighter to you to make these connections happen. And to me, these feel kind of heavy, but you know, maybe there is one connection that you really are interested in. If it feels light, then go for it. This month, we are looking at for you following the feeling of lightness, of flow. And okay, and so if this is about people in particular, it could be finding someone who is not in a position of power and who is more like in the trenches with you a little bit. I'm hoping this makes sense. The thing is like a little specific but also vague, so just go with it. But so someone who knows the terrain, someone who knows the terrain and knows how to navigate it, and that has kind of done it already so that they can help you. And I think a lot of this has to do with getting clear on what you want and what you enjoy in all of this. The devil, it feels to me like you're stuck by this appealing direction, this way that you've kind of maybe been told how to be successful, or this idea that's very appealing of what success would look like. And it's not, and that is keeping you trapped more than anything else. I see the red pants of the Hanged Man, and then this fully red card. And it's like, this is the trap, is this idea of what success looks like, or what, the route is to get there. And so questioning that, or even getting rid of that, is going to serve you really well this month, because these doubts all kind of spring from you are doing everything right. And it's right according to like what people say is right. But for you personally, it's not the way the energy really wants to flow when making these connections. This is much more, it's not as solid a process, I think, as you might expect. And I feel like that's really important to be aware of, that, what do I mean by that? Like, you've done all the things, you've taken all the steps, you've studied it, whatever, you've done all the necessary things, but it's still not working because this isn't a tangible process necessarily. There is an element here of synchronicity and coincidence and things happening, a chain of events happening that starts with one person, not a group of people. And this is like such an important thing, because I think about jobs that I've had where it's like just that one client makes all the difference for everyone. You know what I mean? Like having that one client can mean the difference between, you know, making money one year and not making money, just one client. And so it's like, instead of focusing on multiple people, getting multiple this or that, it's about that one thing, and following the lightness to get to that one thing is super important, not this heaviness. If the rules that you've been told don't feel good to you, it's time to brainstorm new ways. And I think that brings in the aloneness card a little bit, because it's forging your own path. It's finding your own way. It's making your own rules on how to get there. And I think that that takes these two cards out of the picture. This sense of, what am I doing wrong? And the Hanged Man and all this stuff can go, because there's so much heaviness there. We're going to take this out as well. This is kind of a very interesting reading. I don't often do this, but it can be so helpful to kind of move things around and look at it differently. And so the fact that this reading has been so flummoxing for me tells me that this has probably been a very confusing situation for you as well, and that you felt so stuck and not sure how to do, what to do. And just like I'm taking out the cards that are too heavy or that are time to move past, you also do that in your own life. And that's how this reading is working. It's both working in the way that we're reading the cards, but also the procedure, the context of reading the cards is very important today, which tells me the context of what you're doing is very important too. It isn't just the steps, it's more than that. So let's see. So we're going to take her out because we've done that work. All right, so we have this person here. I like the World card because it tells us this symbolizes the fact that you've done all the things that you need to do according to, the made up rules of other people who have done it before and seem very successful. All right, so let's see what we have next. Okay, so now we're talking chain of events. And again, we have these people who are on the ground in the terrain. They're not the decision makers. They're more like the people who bring the message. I'm going to put this one here. I feel like this should stay for some reason, and I'm not sure why. Hopefully we'll get some information on that. All right, thank you. And what else do we need to know, please? Anybody? I'm ready for you. All right, I'm going to take a couple more. All right, so let's see what we have here. Ooh, nothingness. All right, thank you for that. Look at this. Interesting. Very cool. Okay. Traveling. Morality. Again, we see these rules. Yeah, okay, good. And then trust, beautiful. And the trust is so similar in its openness here. So what I see is there's an element of being on the ground, of not trying to do things virtually, of not trying to do things on the screen, right? Pulling away from that with traveling, there's some experiences that you need to gather. And with the aloneness too, there's this feeling of a journey. So taking this experience and moving the energy, right? So this tells me probably with the morality, especially, there's this separation that you've had from you, the audience or the people that you want to be with or to notice you, and the and you. And so what it's saying to me is that you like breaking free from, again, the shoulds, the rules, the things that people say, but going out there and experiencing things. And I think that, that could be meeting with people in person, talking to people in person, actually traveling places, and putting yourself out there in this physical way instead of this virtual way. So I'm getting a strong feeling this may not be the case for some of you, but I'm thinking it might be likely that you've been doing this largely online and this work has largely been online for you. And it's saying to come out into the world and not be so separate anymore. And I think that is part of the being on the ground and stuff, that these people that you'll meet, it's in person. It's not virtual. It's not a Zoom meeting. You know what I mean? Like that it's something physical that happens. And then also with the trust, there is this element, and I think this speaks to the nothingness of like not being busy for the sake of being busy. Not just creating work to do so that you feel like you're doing something, or not even that, but so you feel like you can say, well, I did this, this, and this, and nothing's happening. You know what I mean? And like, it's the point is kind of the nothingness, to let this be a blank kind of experience where you're not sure what the results are, and you're not pointing yourself in this direction that other people are saying, but you let yourself do nothing and follow only what lights you up and really lights you up. And then that creates the bridges. But you have to be comfortable. You have to get comfortable with this kind of not knowing and not doing all the things that you've been told to do or that you think you have to do. So it's scary because there is this loss of control here. But I have news for you. And that's that I don't think in this whole situation you've had very much control when it comes to connecting to other people. I think that so much of that has already been out of your hands, but you just feel like doing these things, doing the certain things that you're supposed to do, like posting online or whatever it is. It feels like you're doing that. It puts the control in your ball in your court, but it really doesn't. And I think you're being being invited to acknowledge that and to operate from that place, that there is some kind of, that there's a lesson here for you about yourself and about why you want this in the first place. And I think it has more to do with connecting with people than you might realize, or even connecting with yourself. Like, the idea of success here, it might look an awful lot different from what you think and be an awful lot more rewarding than you expect. And it has to do with being out there in a real physical way, as I mentioned, that you've done the planning and the action has yet to come. And I know I say that, I don't know if you can hear the smile on my voice, but it's because I know you have been doing a lot of stuff. But for some reason, the tarot is saying that the action actually hasn't happened yet, because you need to go out there. You need to travel. You need to not just do it online. Like, you have to experience it. There's so much more about experience. And so that is the bridge. It's that, you've done the work and everything. The bridge now is actually bringing it out into the world experientially, and then that's going to connect you to the people that I think can help you. Because you need the blankness in order to see the lights, and that's the thing. Like, why you need to be comfortable with the nothingness, or not doing some things that you've been doing just because you feel like, well, this is what they say works, is because how you figure out what lights you up or what's going to work is by not doing those other things and letting go of that. That devil card, that mythology of what it is to be successful, or, how you get successful. There's a lot of unknown in this card, but the thing that is known is the joy, like the energy transfer, the flow in this card is very meaningful. And that's what has been missing in all of this. But it takes, kind of letting go of some things, I think, like we were talking about with the death card. And with the postponement card, I think that we can take this away, because I think you stop waiting for people to notice or realize. I think what you do is you go out there and you make your own success. And I'm not 100% sure what that looks like. And I think it probably looks different for everyone, for any of you that this resonates with. I imagine this looks different. But so the question is, what in the real world can you do to get to these people, or to make connections, or what in the real world can you do that lights you up and gets you out there, instead of staying static behind a screen where people can just swipe past you or click like, or decide not to click like. There's so much more available to you, I think, and that you're being pushed in that direction, whether you realize it or not. I think you're being called to come out from behind that screen, from behind these rules, and to find your own way that is very, very true to yourself. Codes of destiny and life design. There is a path, and you have done the work. But the path it's a journey, and it's not a journey that happens online. At least not now, if it ever does. And that, is something that I've seen be true so often in my own work and things like that. It's like, when you go out and you meet people, the chance that you're going to have success, or the chance that something will change, is so much greater. I'm going to pull one more card just as like a little wild card, because it's just been such an interesting reading. I know I've had you for a long time here, but I'm just kind of fascinated and curious. And I just feel like there's something else to share here. There it is. Oh, two things. Oh, I wish this wasn't a clown. It's just personal preference. Sorrow and playfulness. So this letting go, it's not going to be easy. And I might have been kind of not acknowledging that or lightening, like making light of that. But there is some grieving to be done here, because this path is different from what you've been aiming for, at the same time, just going like, and again, it's also about the choice between the heavy and the light. Like if you're doing something and it makes you sad, I just think of, putting yourself out there and not getting a response, it can be very disheartening, and versus like doing something that you just think is really fun and different and doing that, that's what you're looking at, is this making that decision. And the part of you though, like the sorrow card and the aloneness, which are both nines incidentally, there is like a spiritual aspect here. And oh yeah, so this is not like, this whole experience hasn't been for nothing. Like if you decide, okay, I'm going to stop investing in this thing, but I've invested so much in it, there are things that you've learned here, and it's so much, the stress is so much about experience for you, that I think that comes to bear down the line, that you have this experience that gives you compassion and accessibility to people who are going through the same thing that you're going through, so that down the road you can talk about this experience. So it's not all for naught, and it's part of your journey. This is all part of the process. And now it's time for things to get lighter and lovelier, and you to take some risks that aren't so heavy, and kind of like, I feel like at this point, you're kind of already pretty sure it's not going to work. What you've been doing, it's just not going to work. It's going to continue to not work. And that, just, I don't know, going out there into the world, being around people, experiencing things, I think there's a lot to be said for it. And I think that's the new way to go. And the thing that I'm struggling with a little bit as we come to the end of this reading is that I feel like that I like to give practical advice, but my gut is saying that that is for you to find, that you have been listening for so long to the rumors and the ideas of other people, and that you have been walking this path based on the direction of other people. And if I add to that throng of voices, it immediately takes away this experiential aspect. You have to go out. You have to trust that things can shift, that things can change, that you can be the author of your path, and that what works for some people doesn't work for everyone. And clearly in this reading, what works for you is not what you might think. I think it's a lot more fun, the direction you have to go in. So I can't be more specific, but what I can say is if it's heavy and it makes you sad, let it go. Think about what might be fun. Think about what might be exciting. I think you have enough of a background with this world card and all of your experience and all the things you have to share with people. You have enough of that you can put yourself out there in a different way, and it will change things. I think it really will. And it'll connect you to these people, it starts the chain of events. And that's what you need. You need that chain of events to begin. And it starts with a spark, right? A fire starts with a spark. And you can't do that from behind a computer or a camera. You do that in person, with flint and steel, right? You do that in real life. I hope this was helpful. I think that, just know that there is a path, but it's uniquely yours, and follow the things that make you feel light. There is a bridge. It will be built. But how you build it is different. It's just different. And that actually also will add to your journey and how you help other people. So it's kind of amazing. I'm going to take a nap after that one. I hope this was helpful for you. I think that this month looks like it could be really energizing, and follow that energy. And thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please like the video. It means so much to me. It also helps me get found. And if you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you along the journey of tarot and all things related to tarot and intuition. And more importantly than both of those things, have a wonderful month, a wonderful day, and thanks again so much for watching. Bye.